Was Kenny Veach secretly trying to tell us something about the mineshaft? Did he leave more clues behind than what search and rescue found? Because what was later caught on camera by a fellow hiker was deeply disturbing and rather mysterious. Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach Cave mystery. Today focusing in on a very important theme which has never been talked about until now, and it is incorporated with the mineshaft, where Kenny Veach started his hike video and where he supposedly ended his unrecorded hike when search and rescue November 22nd, 2014 found his phone and loose coins at the vertical mineshaft. And granted, whilst there is an alternative mineshaft, we're focusing in on the one we've always been familiar with. Are there more secrets inside of the mineshaft than what's been told already? Did Kenny Veach know more about that spot than most of us combined? Because in terms of when he was there recording his footage, he actually spent more time investigating the mineshaft and the surrounding area than he spent time in inspecting caves, and some of which resembled an M-shaped cave. And the odd one, Kenny even pointed out and said, a place on ground level, kind of like here. Why would Kenny Veach go out of his way to cover 3 to 4 hours on foot to get to the mineshaft, unrecorded footage, not recording anything for those hours, to then set up a big heavy tripod only once used on his hike to then talk about the surrounding area? His main goal and objective is to prove to people that an M cave exists out there, and a vibrating one. And whilst he may have not found the true cave, he came across opportunities, yet he just walked right past them. What was going on in Kenny's mind? Was it at the start of his video he was already planning and prepping his so-called disappearance by starting his video at the mineshaft and then going out that final time and leaving items, some specifically at that same spot? Was it planned out over time? Did he have other ideas going on? On the sideline, there have been other hikers that have investigated the mineshaft, and some believe that there were tunnel networks underneath before it was filled in or collapsed, and the direction and angles what they go in supposedly go towards or under military land, which is rather shocking. With that all being said, I'm sure you want to see the evidence and footage and proof of the theme of Kenny spending more time looking at a mineshaft than caves, and the language and wording that he uses to see if he does drop any clues, if you pick up on any words too. Be sure to drop a comment down below if you do pick up on anything under the video, and if you have any thoughts, discussions, theories, ideas, whether you agree or disagree, all points are welcome. And the more comments you leave, the greater the discussions, the more it helps keep the case alive and out there, spreading the awareness so more people get to learn about the case. And before I go any further, I just want to let you know that if you want to catch up on recent coverage by me, the full playlist on the Kenny Veach Cave case is available top right corner where the eye symbol is up there, with some loose videos attached underneath. And if you want to support my channel, below in the pinned comments there is a PayPal link and channel membership, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on the case and make sure all notifications are turned on. With that all being said, the order of how I'm going to present it to you today is, first of all, play the clip where it shows Kenny focusing in on the mineshaft, how he talks about it, his eye contact, his body language. Because if you're quite invested in something, there might be more there than what meets the eye to the general public looking behind the screen. The way Kenny looks at the mine, how he describes it, his focus, his concentration, and then comparing it to his body language, behavior, and verbal communication with the caves. Because at the end of the day, you're there for one reason, the M cave. Why are you spending most of the time looking at a mineshaft? Isn't that wasted time in a way? Kenny could have done his introduction at the very start of the hike near to where his vehicle was parked and say, "Hi, my name's Kenny Veach, and today I'm heading up that canyon to find the caves. I'll chat back with you later. And then the next clip of him is stood at the mineshaft and just simply pointing around but not spending too much time. It'll make more sense. I'm going to play the clip right now and make sure to listen in.
This is an old mine, and there's a hole here that just goes way down. I'll show you that. I'm going to take the camera and show you how deep this hole is and kind of show you around real quick. So here we go. This area is that I'm in, it's kind of a weird thing. It's been out here forever. I mean, there's no roads, there's no trails. This thing, who knows how long it's been out here, and I have no idea what they were digging up, but it looks like some of the rocks are kind of rusty, so it might have been some kind of ore. This is kind of iffy. I'm going to step on this thing. It's very old, but I'll just show you down inside that hole. It goes way, way, way down in there. Let me see if I can... that's pretty far. That goes way down in there. If you fell, that'd be it. You'd be a goner. It's a long way. So anyway...
After watching that footage, let me know in the comments section if you did see or hear anything unusual, whether that be visually, auditory, something Kenny described, his body language. Just drop a comment below with a timestamp of this video. In regard to a potential clue he left behind, I'll share that with you later. Be sure to stick around for that. In terms of the total time he spent at the mineshaft, including his little introduction and looking around panning with the camera, it was a total of 6 minutes 37 seconds. 3 to 4 hours on foot, walking to get to the mineshaft and then spend 6 minutes and 37 seconds stood there. It's not a huge deal of time, but when you compare it to a much more important location he was later at, the time difference is somewhat shocking. Furthermore, if you was to include the next bit of footage where he was just simply sat down collecting pinion nuts, talking about nature and not all about the cave, the time adds on there. Let me just play you a small clip of it as an example.
Anyway, I'm back. I had to show you this. I'm almost to the ridge that I'm going to be going down. And I came across in early October. I don't normally find these in early October, but when I first started this hike down there's no pine trees, there's no juniper trees, there's barely any bushes. There's a lot of cactus, and slowly but surely I run into juniper, and then every now and then I run into a pine tree. But now I'm in the middle of these pine trees up here, and I just came across these, and they have just opened and dropped gigantic sweet pine nuts, or pinion nuts, whatever you want to call them. And they are all over the place. And they're so sweet and delicious. There's flies all over. They're everywhere.
So whilst everything may seem all positive and he's somewhat enthusiastic about the nature, the wildlife and what he can collect when out there, did he have that same level of enthusiasm on his unrecorded parts 3 to 4 hours earlier? I guess we'll never know, that's a mystery. But the clip what I just showed you there, almost the full length of it is roughly 3 minutes. 3 minutes spent sat down or moving about, picking up some nuts. We don't have to dissect everything, but time is important. And if you're running against it, you got a deadline, you're thinking of the sun, the lighting, and you want to find the cave. You want to spend as much time searching for the cave than all the other bits and bobs along the way. Because you might want to introduce it and share it with the viewers, but why not leave that for a separate occasion? If you're here on a mission, which Kenny Veach supposedly was, why not prioritise timing, be organised, and make the most out of searching for caves? Is it with all the messing around earlier, which then led to things being rushed later? It's worth acknowledging, because at the end of the day, when you add the times up of when he's doing other things, it does accumulate over time, so it can put a strain on the situation when out there. With that being said, I'm going to roll the next clip of when Kenny Veach got to the hotspot area. You might be wondering, what does that mean? It's a location just before Picture Canyon, which is heading somewhat west. You got the row of caves, which resemble certain characteristics described by Kenny Veach on ground level. One shaped like an M, and then even another cave which Kenny was scared of. And it's what other hikers have experienced since in that area, from missing footage randomly disappearing, lost time, huge time discrepancies, the unexplainable, activity with a rock being moved, a really heavy one, and we don't know who's responsible for that, supposed covered up caves and fill-ins, very unusual activity. Was it the same for Kenny Veach? Maybe he wasn't fully aware of it at the time, but if he was somewhat confident that in that area the M cave was located, because when he got to Picture Canyon and exited, by then he mentioned he hadn't found the cave.
Well, I did not find the cave. That is so weird. I mean, I thought for sure I was just gonna be able to find it. I remember it being fairly easy. Who knows? But I am at the mouth of the canyon. There, I'm just now coming out, and now I have to take a big left-hand turn and walk all the way back to my truck, which is a long, hard trip because I've got a lot of up and down to do.
Which implies that on his hike, whilst he still had 3 or 4 miles to get back to his vehicle, by that point there was no more opportunities of looking for the cave, because wherever it was before the exit of Picture Canyon. With that being in mind, let me play the video.
And then there's lots of little caves, but they're not the kind of cave I'm looking for. The kind of cave I'm looking for is deep, and it's dark, and it's shaped like it's shaped just like the letter M. So lots of little caves and stuff along here, and it's about level with the ground, like in an area like this. So I really got to keep my eyes peeled because I don't want to pass it. You know? And then there's caves like that. I'm not going up there.
Once again, if you noticed anything strange or odd caught on camera during that sequence, feel free to leave a timestamp down below. In terms of the total time and footage, including the extra bit of when he's looking south, panning the camera around looking west, then facing north as he's walking along by the side of those caves, in terms of that time he spent in that small area, that important hotspot of caves and mysteries, it was a total of 1 minute, 6 seconds. Kenny Veach didn't seem to record, capture, or explore any areas before and no areas after where there's supposedly caves. Kenny even said in his hike video, there are so many caves out here where you can go spelunking. If that's so, why didn't Kenny Veach go spelunking then when giving a bit of a tour of the area? If Kenny Veach gives a tour of the mineshaft, looking inside, being hands-on to an extent, standing on dodgy planks and boards, and maybe the uncertainty of whether it will collapse or not, but I'm going to, in a way, risk my life to share to the viewers what this mineshaft, this big drop looks like. Okay, but then Kenny Veach also spends some time looking at nature, focusing in on a bird tweeting. Then Kenny spent 2 to 3 minutes sat down picking up pinion nuts. It seems like Kenny Veach spent more time collectively doing everything but exploring caves. And the whole point of him being out there was to look for caves. And when he finally comes across a row of caves to investigate, to share up close so the viewers can see what they look like, whether it be the M cave or something similar, to share the contents within the depth, the characteristics, the uniqueness. Even when Kenny Veach panned the camera around and looked at that other cave, appeared scared and whispered, "Looks like." Looks like what, Kenny? Did it catch your interest? Clearly not enough for you to go up to it or get a bit closer and spend a bit more time narrating. No, focusing on the mineshaft earlier on so people get a real good look what's within it, what to anticipate, what to expect, create those mental images, and then end up his scent ending at the mineshaft in November and his phone being placed there of all places. It's as if Kenny Veach did the mineshaft first to pin it on the map to say, this is the start point. This is what you can expect to look within it. And I'm going to leave my items here later. But as for the caves, actual caves that you finally come across, but don't bother exploring or pointing out, just glancing by and walking on by fairly quick, it feels like wasted opportunity. And even if it wasn't the M cave, considering like what Kenny said, once he got towards Picture Canyon and exiting, his wording implied that the cave was back there, not when you come out of Picture Canyon, but before. So if you know you're getting towards the end of your hike and you feel or you know that the time is running out, because Kenny Veach describes himself as an artist, a creative individual, an inventor, surely when it feels like there's no hope left and there's no more caves ahead, it's either here or before, why not turn it into a positive? Why not salvage what you've got and just make the most of it, which Kenny could have done, but chose not to? Did he walk by quick because he didn't want to let on that this was the area of the M cave? Did Kenny Veach spend more time at the mineshaft because he wanted to create a signal, a beacon point to set an impression, a lasting one, and possibly foreshadowing the future? Because even he said, it's dangerous. If you fall down there, you're a goner. All in all, it does raise some rather important questions and possibilities. But before we go on any further, I just want to give you an example of what Kenny Veach should or could have done when he had gone past those caves, because I can share it with you from a different point of view if you haven't already seen. With credit to Sean Horlacker in 2019 for documenting this on his M Cave hike, these are the images in the order of what Kenny Veach walked by. And it might look a bit different, but that's just because of the timing. From 2014 to 2019, colouring can change, erosion can occur, sunlight, shadows casted, and camera angles and how close you are can all impact the visual outlook. But this was a bit more up close at that more prominent M-shaped looking cave before that supposed covered up one. And Kenny said it's deep and dark and it's shaped like a capital M. Well, technically it ticks some of the boxes, but Kenny did not point it out and did not walk up close to it. Why should he? Is there any point? If it's not the cave, there's no point searching it. There's no point really going up and talking about it. But what's the point in spending quite some time at a mineshaft then? Or getting the pinion nuts, spending more time there when there's no sign of a cave? Why waste all that time doing that and then leave yourself short for the real cave explorations and analysis? I mean, Sean Horlacker spread it out himself, but he did dedicate quite some time to this area and the footage shows within it. And these screenshots, as example, Kenny should have done this, as in, and I'll just give you an example of narration. Kenny could have said, it's deep, dark, shaped like capital M, kind of like this one, but it's not the cave I'm looking for because it's not deep enough. And I can share that with you right now. Walking up close to it, so you can see the prominent M shape up and down, and then the tip in the middle. And then further in, it does look a little bit dark, but how far does it really go in? Transition on, and there you go. It's like a little pit, a little den. Maybe mountain lions, wildlife danger that could rest in there at certain points, which would make it a dangerous spot if you're in the wrong place, wrong time, hiking by, such as Kenny Veach, if that was to be the case in November. But you see the ground, I think Sean said someone may have had a fire at some point because it looked dark, and the ceiling bit was a bit dark too. It was like seams, but I think that was more rock scars or ores in the rock, natural, if you call it geology. But it's just interesting to be able to see it up close, right? And when you're Kenny Veach and you're trying to prove to people where the cave is and what is the M cave and what isn't, you don't want to leave people guessing and thinking the what ifs. What if Kenny walked by it? What if Kenny ignored it for other reasons? Is that why? If Kenny just walked up to it and said, here's a cave, this is what it looks like inside, there's not too much to it, the end, and then move on, it clears up some of the mystery. You got to understand this. Kenny's behaviour and decision making, some of which had led to new mysteries forming and opening up, making the case much deeper than maybe what it actually is. You got to put it into perspective. So as like a cleanup crew, and not for that to be interpreted in a bad way, that term, but like Sean Horlacker, Jay Silverheels maybe at one point, SB, Aquachigger to an extent, to walk by the area and document it so you get a better look. And then the next example, the one in the middle, besides the prominent M-shaped shallow cave, on the left you had an oddly shaped shallow cave too, which maybe on the outside didn't really give much away, but it was somewhat of a cave. And considering Kenny hadn't come across any beforehand and didn't record any beforehand, then why not use the opportunity now to get up close like what Sean did here? And when going inside, the rock wall at the back, there was a clear keyhole. Now, some people have said reptilian eye. Others have said it's a spying hole. Some have suggested, is it hollow, the wall? How deep does that hole go into? Has anyone stuck a camera in? To my knowledge, I don't think anyone has. Now, Jay Silverheels did a video, but I don't know if it's on his channel still, because sometimes he does delete videos, which is a bit unusual, and his titles of videos don't always have the best reach when trying to search for the search terms, when you really want something specific. Nevertheless, we're using Sean Horlacker's screenshot from his video here of the supposed keyhole. And very creepy and weird, whether anything's there or not, because of the depth to it. It's very dark. Does it go into some kind of tunnel network within the mountains? Some kind of cave system? With it being connected with or close to, on the right and left of the other caves, does it all link to one entranceway? Who knows? But Kenny didn't acknowledge it, and there's a chance that he didn't even know about this keyhole at the time because he didn't think to walk up to it. Would you expect Kenny to walk up to it if it had no resemblances to the M cave? Okay, maybe you could say, well, you just walk by it, it's not of interest, it's not what you're looking for. But you know what? You might as well look at something you're not looking for when there's not much else to look for after, because you're reaching the end of your hike. Salvage what you can, make the most of it. That's why I think when Kenny was more up close with the mineshaft, it's as if he wanted the viewer to see within it, but he didn't want the viewers to see other stuff. Yes, you could interpret it as, was he hiding other stuff from us, because that's where the real clues are. But then the flip side is, did Kenny Veach want to lead viewers to a particular point of interest, because that's when later, where his phone, his coins and his scent were to be found at an end at? Was it a marker all along and a beacon point? Is there more to it within the mineshaft? Not that it was like caved in and he's underneath it or filled in, but if there's any tunnel networks and any links to military, any alternative entranceways to the M cave. Kenny said it was hidden, technically, so is it hidden in the mineshaft? Do you have to go into the mineshaft to get to the entrance of the M cave? There's different ways of looking at it. Is it an alternative entrance besides the M cave? But whilst we're still narrating over this particular shallow cave with the keyhole, even if it's natural, as in bees, insects, flies, chewing the rock wall, making a hole, a nest, how deep does it really go within? How deep does it really go if a camera was to be put in with a light? And then, of course, you got the supposed covered cave, which Kenny Veach even acknowledged and said, on ground level, like right here. Oh, right here on screen. With credit to Sean Horlacker once again. Yes, it looks like it could have been covered up or filled in, but many people have said it's natural rock formation. Nevertheless, it's somewhat mysterious and interesting to look at. And furthermore, what makes it more of a mystery is what happened after 2019. So It was Sean's hike. Where you see it circled on the left, there was kind of a big boulder, dark black rock. On the right in 2022, I think it was credit to Aquachigger when walking by, didn't give it a second thought, didn't even acknowledge or investigate, but we're looking at the same thing. It does look different colouring, but 2019, 2022, change of season and lighting, it can happen. But there is a missing rock now. In 2022 onwards, a missing boulder, which was found on the ground, but because of the weight of it, the heaviness, and how it was lodged within, it would have been pried off or pulled off by a human or people. Now, what would they be doing out there? And no one ever came forwards or owned up or publicly said that they were responsible. So was it a hiker? Was it a rogue hiker? Was it military? Was it the DNWR? A ranger? Who could it be? Why would they do that? A level of interest to cover such distance on foot, to go out of your way to get to there, to then just move one rock and then call it a day. And even if that wasn't clear enough, when you look at the footage here, now I don't know if this one is by Aquachigger or more so SB Vega's Adventures in 2022 on the right, but what I actually did was a side-by-side comparison with a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle just to show it clearer, as in where the rock was later found on the ground, which you see there, which likely came from there. You can see the missing pieces, like the holes and bits. And you compare it to that big, rock there on the left. You don't see it here. It's missing. It's been broken off. It's been pulled away. And it was quite heavy in place to begin with. So someone was responsible. Granted, while some of that strange activity and changes to the environment occurred years later post-disappearance of Kenny Veach, it's probably because he put it on the map and without investigating and dropping some potential clues or hints as he did walk by, either plain dumb, ignorant, not alert, not aware, focused on something else, tunnel vision, the viewers picked up on that and thought, hey, this could be the spot based on his behaviour, like saying ground level, like here, giving clues and hints like that. If it's not the area, but Kenny Veach at least cleared up in his investigation, then maybe people wouldn't have searched as deep as they did. But at the end of the day, it's probably a good thing that humans, general public, did, whether it links to Kenny M. Cave or not, because there are other mysteries out there in that hotspot area, experienced by Jeff Clark and SB Vega's Adventures, just as examples of people. So when we dial it back to the Mineshaft, which Kenny Veach shared more openly with, has it been the same level of investigation and concentration of the area? Well, arguably, yeah. But that was more so focused, for most part of it, as in, is Kenny Veach down the Mineshaft, yes or no? And the reasoning behind the push for that and the concentration, not so much Kenny Veach saying he's down there, but I guess implying that if you fall down there, you're a goner. And with him dropping his items near there later November implies that did Kenny Veach end up in the mineshaft? Is that why his scent didn't go on any further? And it's understandable why you would think like that in the early days. So Kenny Veach kind of set, not literally, but kind of set it up to suggest or imply he might be down there, which then sparks the curiosity for people to go search him. But what really exaggerated it would be the lack of hands-on by search and rescue that sent a camera down there, not a human. And back then, the ladder would have been a bit more safer compared to years later when volunteers did actually go down. Scott Natal was one of the only few that climbed down the ladder without a safety rope. Jeff Clark and SB did use a safety rope, for example, but you just do what you can and what you feel comfortable with and what works. At the end of the day, they were all able to make it back safely, which was good, and also document on camera in the mine shaft. As for what was found there, old mining stuff, barrels, bottles, debris, and that was mainly it. But it's what Jeff Clark encountered. So because of Red Rock Search and Rescue not doing a proper thorough search at the time, that's what would have incorporated and somewhat influenced other people to take matters into their own hand and get hands-on. Might have been a different outcome if Red Rock did go down there, search and clear it back then and provide photos. So then maybe there wouldn't be a reason to go into the mine shaft, or not as many reasons to do so. You can see how people who are assigned to certain jobs and roles, when they don't get the job done themselves, it leaves it open for the possibilities of questioning and interpreting and mysteries and overthinking and anything else in between. You can't blame people. If it's tied up the loose ends immediately and it's made clear with communication, etc., that goes a long way. But it just not happened within this case in the early days when it was most critical and vital. Nevertheless, I don't think Sean Horlacker went into the mine shaft, but the next person who actually did, one of the first, to my knowledge, was Jeff Clark, 2016. And as I said, unknown to him at the time, he was taking photos whilst in there. And I think his light battery or something didn't work, or suddenly drained or turned off, and couldn't explain why that happened when it was on full charge. So first, unexplainable, mysterious things going on out there of all places, where Kenny Veach was once at. But Jeff Clark was still able to take photos, maybe with the flash on, right? Because he was kind of doing it blindly in the dark. And it just so happened that, unknown to Jeff, but years later, was notified in his video that he did capture a crystal skull on camera. Is that something that Kenny Veach placed into the mine shaft? Well, whilst you think about it, let me show you the photos and proof of it being caught on camera. What you're looking at, first of all, is a side-by-side comparison of the same angle photo within the mine shaft. On the left, more modern, 2022. Then on the right is Jeff Clark, who did go in 2016, take some photos, and then went back again in 2017. So apologies if a slight error was made beforehand, 2017, when he actually captured it. So one of the first people to go into the mine shaft properly and search for Kenny, or more so signs of an M cave or entrance or tunnelway. And at first glance, it might not look similar, but it is. Slightly different camera angle, but it's looking at the same stuff, the rock placement, the lighter coloured rocks and bits and grains, and then the gravelly colour spots too. Take in mind, different years, different seasons, weathering, erosion, colour changes, it can happen, and the camera quality as well. I can't remember whose footage it was on the left in 2022. Either it was SB Vegas Adventures, or it could have been Outpost Mojave. Beside that, if you couldn't see the crystal skull, when you zoom in there, and I do have videos on my channel where I go into it much deeper comparisons, more photos and everything, but I wanted to do a summary today. So if you are interested, you can always check out my earlier videos which are available. And it looks like it's resting on the edge, a perch of the wall area of the mine shaft, and it definitely resembles a crystal skull. You can see the shine of it, you can see the skull, the head, the sunken eye sockets, even somewhat of a nose, and more of a purpley shine to the jaw, mouth, teeth area. Just the shape of it, it does resemble a skull. Now, maybe if you zoom in too much, it looks less like one. If you zoom out, it looks more like one. But it definitely stands out from everything else in there, and it is shiny like a crystal, at least the material. And when you look online for crystal skulls, you do get similar looking ones like that on screen. So it definitely appears to be a crystal skull, and it was noticed by Jeff Clark years later, but when he actually captured it, it was 2017. It's only a few years on post Kenny's disappearance. Did Kenny enter the mine shaft, or did he drop or throw the skull in as like a marker in hopes that if anyone was to go there, besides the coins and the phone that was found outside of the mine shaft, there was something much more important inside? What does the skull represent? And if it was by Kenny, is it to do with death? Is it to do with starting a new life? Is it a warning, a message? Was there a message or paper attached to it? We don't know. Because whenever anyone else went back out there, from the angling, it appeared that the skull was no longer present. And I believe it might have been Outpost Mojave that claimed to have taken the skull, taken it away, or another group of people did. As to what they did with it next, I can't remember. Should it have been left there? I don't know, but did it have any messages on, any paper hidden, anything inscribed within it? Not too sure. But just to find a crystal skull in such a desolate, remote area, to cover 3 to 4 hours hiking just to put a crystal skull in the mineshaft, someone must have been on a mission and it being important enough to them to follow through with it. What's also important to know is Kenny Veach is a spiritual person and creative. He likes storytelling. So you never know, his storytelling may have been set out there, placing items about near the mineshaft, doing his original October hike, narrating what could happen if things went wrong, and just what the visual outlook was like, the beacon point, the marker of the beginning of his hike, etc. And then later leaving things there to say, hey, I'm out here, but are you really? And the scent ending at the mineshaft, but not being found in the mineshaft, but a skull being found later. Kenny Veach, spiritual person, storyteller. You can see how it can go. Kenny Veach also did a bit of storytelling in his house tour video, which I think was like months or a year before his October hike, back in 2014 or 2013, when Kenny Veach was doing a house tour. And he had some dice, he had a skeleton and a desert-like landscape, saying this guy was gambling or rolled his dice, gambled, and died out there. Was Kenny Veach indirectly talking about himself? What Kenny was going to do next? Gamble his life, put it on the line, the M Cave, a story, YouTube. Hope it works, and if it doesn't, something happens out there in the desert, or he dies trying. Maybe someday I'll do a video on that to suggest the possibilities. But besides spirituality, his family, members, brother, sister, spiritual people too, teach classes as well. Enchanted Forest, Reiki Healing Center in Las Vegas, store owner Debbie Veach, sister to Kenny Veach. People that run classes there, such as Raymond Veach, brother to Kenny. What a coincidence. And it just happens that healing store does sell crystal skulls, and some look a little bit similar to what was found in the mineshaft. So, whether it be Kenny or a family member, went out there hiking, because that's all you can do. You can't use any vehicles. 3 to 4 hours on foot, November time, the 10th, for example. Got to the mineshaft, placed the phone down and the coins, or chucked them down, we don't know the condition of them, and then decided to toss the skull in. Or if Kenny did try climbing down and then rested the skull on a perch ledge into the mineshaft in hopes that someone would find it in the future. That maybe Kenny Veach purposely left the phone and coins by the side of the mineshaft in hopes to say, oh, well, if his scent has ended here, his phone and coins have been found just outside of the mineshaft, then there's only one place he can be, down there. As Kenny Veach was pointing in his video, it goes way down there. You don't want to fall down there, you'll be a goner. Maybe Kenny wasn't in there and didn't intend on dying down there, but he wanted people to find something in that mineshaft. Could it link to the M Cave? Could it link to a tunnel, a network, a connection? Different ways of looking at it. You put a skull in a mineshaft and there's no indication to go out there, and there's no markers or scent along the way. You could say it's like finding a needle in the haystack. It's almost impossible. But if Kenny Veach was responsible for the crystal skull, it would make the most sense. Because first of all, Kenny did say a message, like the ex-girlfriend, what he was going to do. And I think he might have told some family members as well, what he was going to do, where he was going to go, and how long he was going to be out there for. Because the girlfriend anticipated where his vehicle would be found, which it was found at. So there was clear communication to begin with. Kenny Veach made it clear where he was hiking to, or so far. And by leaving the car there, and indirectly his scent inevitably leading a certain way, which the dogs picked up on, and ending at the mineshaft, and furthermore finding Kenny's phone and coins, it's like, hey, I'm over here. And hey, where you found those items, the nearer place of interest, a mineshaft. So maybe you should look down there and see what you can find. And obviously, because a thorough search wasn't done, the missed opportunity of coming across the crystal skull earlier. That's why it might be more likely Kenny put the crystal skull down there because of the spiritual links, the storytelling aspect, family members' healing store with crystal skulls, and that Kenny already made it clear where he was going to go, leaving a scent or a trail behind and a marker to imply there's something going on in the mine shaft. If a complete stranger did what Kenny did but didn't tell anyone where they were going, and they didn't leave any markers along the way or like an arrow pointing to here, then how could you expect anyone to come along and find it then? I think there was a time where you had the fake Robin account, the fake really Robin, that claimed I was the one that put the skull into the mineshaft in 2017, a year after Jeff Clark went out there the first time round. That's what the fake Robin was claiming, to put the skull in the mineshaft. But if that was ever true, you could not expect really anyone to directly go looking for it when there's no reason to do in the first place. But for someone like Kenny Veach, who's left a trail, markers, a scent leading to that spot, reinforcing or implying that maybe you should take a look inside, that one makes more sense. So when you combine the possibilities together, the focus of Kenny, the concentration of the mineshaft compared to finding a cave or going up close to caves and being hands-on, it's as if Kenny Veach had other ideas in mind. And was he trying to tell us something, but he didn't make it clear enough? You can let me know what you think down below in the comment section. All in all, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, the like button, share the video to spread the awareness. And if you're on mobile, feel free to hype the video up. That button should be down below near the comment section or when you swipe across of the comments. We'll see what happens next. I think it was quite a heavy, deep video this. I just hope people do pick up on it, and even the video that I did last night. And yeah, my name's Warlike Raph. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, good night for now.